कौन से skill sets would be more handy for people in this AI augmented world?
Currently, I'm working in NUS, which is National University of Singapore, and part of my teaching. AI is actually changing how we are as humans, right? So his attachment to ChatGPT is a different level.
4 दिन पहले या 5 दिन पहले, I was talking with ChatGPT and I asked, basis the kind of questions that I asked you, please recommend me 2 good books to read.
In fact, they are so emotionally connected that sometimes they feel very happy, very agitated, very angry. ChatGPT and you say, can you tell me how the weather for today evening might be? That exchange of information leads you to some kind of attachment. You now know that ChatGPT gives me trustworthy answers. Fight with their girlfriend or boyfriend or wife or husband, they might go to Ben and say, hey Ben, I had this fight, what should I do?
तो अंकुश, अभी तक जितने भी मैंने पॉडकास्ट किए हैं आज तक फ्रेंड्स के साथ और जिन लोगों को मैं जानता हूँ, ऑलमोस्ट ऑल ऑफ देम में ऐसा हुआ है कि वी हैव नॉट बीन एबल टू गेट आउट ऑफ दैट पॉडकास्ट विदाउट डिस्कसिंग अबाउट एआई. So slowly we are moving into this world where AI is almost consuming us, and like we cannot deny its existence. So as we are slowly moving into this world of AI, and I'm sure progressively we'll get more embroiled into it. क्या लगता है with time कौन से skill sets would be more handy for people in this AI augmented world?
Okay, man, I love this question. Hidden reason is that I'm doing a lot of research on AI as well. So in the introduction, we didn't go into introductions, but currently I'm working in NUS, which is National University of Singapore, and part of my teaching, and I'm teaching here, we're exploring how AI is shifting people. And I'm using the word shifting, and I realized that when you introduced the question, you were saying AI is consuming people. And nothing wrong with it, right? They are all words. But I was going into the word which you used was because what's happening is we design something. And when you say we design something, the world, different corporations design solutions, thinking that, in future, we'll be able to do something better. And actually, each solution, in a way, changes us. And AI is actually changing how we are as humans. And we can't deny it. Some are changing a little more, some are changing a lot more, as everyone does, right? Everyone has a different pace of change. And it might be regional, it might be cultural, and all of those ideas also, which is making those changes possible. So I think the question then is, how are we shifting? And in my research, I came up with 8 archetypes. What is kind of like, you can imagine them as like personality sets on what your personality is with AI. And actually, I used 3 theoretical concepts there. One is attachment, the second is motivation, and third is exchange theory. Very simply put, maybe for our audience who might be listening in is, what it says is every time we are doing a task with AI, let's take a very simple example. You go to ChatGPT and you say, can you tell me how the weather for today evening might be? And it gives you some information. So at a very low level, you're exchanging information with ChatGPT. That exchange of information leads you to some kind of attachment. What it means is, if it gave you right information and it said, let's say it's going to rain heavily, don't go out. And if it really rains, you're building an attachment which is sorts of trust with it. And next time you're motivated to use it because you now know that ChatGPT gives me trustworthy answers. So what's happening is, on a long term, we are actually building a relationship with AI. Again, no denying about it. You might not like the word relationship, or some of the people might not like it, but we are building a relationship, and that's shifting the way in which we are changing. That means we as an individual are shifting. That means leaders needs to shift, understand how they're shifted, and the organizations need to shift alongside. So if I maybe give a pause, I'll help you digest or let you digest and see if you want to go deep into something.
थोड़ा सा और give a few more examples of these archetypes, right? They sound interesting.
See, I talked about 8 archetypes, and I again won't go into all 8. If you want, maybe that can become a separate thing. One of them is, for example, what we call a tinkerer. And tinkerer is an archetype or a personality type who uses technology or AI, but they only use it for experimenting, but they have no emotional connect with it. So, for example, we did it with some of our learners and students. We did it with some of the consumers, and we found out that these are the people who go to a technology, they play around, they like to see what new has come in, and then they let it be at the play level. They don't build any emotional connect to it. They sometimes use its output, but they don't use it so often. Now, if you have this kind of a personality trait in your, let's say, organization, this person might be using it for some playful things. For example, creating a report, checking the email for grammar, that's it. Whereas another extreme might be it's defined as a companion seeker. And I'm showing you just some extremes so that you get an idea. Companion seeker is someone who uses it a lot more, not just for play, but building emotional connect. This person might have even given it a name, saying, hey, I'm talking to Ben. And you might say, hey, Ben might be one of the person's friend, but Ben might be ChatGPT for this person. And Ben might be the closest person who knows their secrets. If they fight with their girlfriend or boyfriend or wife or husband, they might go to Ben and say, hey, Ben, I had this fight. What should I do? And Ben will say, Are jane de, or give a few solutions, and then you might feel better about it. In fact, they are so emotionally connected that sometimes they feel very happy, very agitated, very angry on what even ChatGPT kind of tools might say. So ChatGPT might say, hey, your solution looks okayish. And they feel, hey, what are you saying? And then they have all these very high emotional triggers with these tools. And once again, we are not judging right now. So keep your judging head aside. These are real people around us. And the more we know that we are one of those, then we can also take control of how we are now interacting with AI. So again, maybe companion seeker in your team might be an individual. You as a boss send them an email. Maybe they are checking with the ChatGPT. Hey, tell me, is the boss happy or angry with me? Now I want to make boss happy with a reply. What should I reply? And whatever ChatGPT gives them, they actually use that to build relationships further on. So in a way, think about it, right? If this individual is somewhere near you, they are not talking directly to you anymore. They have been talking along with you.
So this actually reminds me of a movie. I think its name is Her.
Yes,
it starred Joaquin Phoenix. If you remember, he fell in love with the operating system.
Yes.
Right? So I think 4 दिन पहले या 5 दिन पहले I was talking with ChatGPT and I asked basis the kind of questions that I ask you. Please recommend me 2 good books to read, 2 fiction books to non-fictions to read. And ChatGPT suggested me 2 books which I had already read, but they were very good. So where would you place me? Am I a tinkerer or am I a companion seeker? Yeah, if I were to ask you on a scale of 0 to 10, where am I?
See, we can do a full analysis. Usually, so we have 6 dimensions, along which we actually assess a person. These range from trust to emotional connect to creative output and a couple of other things. And only when I do that detailed interview or a self-assessment for you, if you want to do, that's where I can place you, right? So I don't want to suddenly place you. Also, it's interesting, right? You mentioned, right? Many people, when we ask a question, especially like, do you trust these tools' outputs? Are you emotionally connected? Many times they say, hey, I don't trust it a lot. Or they might tell you, I'm not emotionally connected at all. But when we actually ask them deeper questions, we say, can you recall a scenario, for example, when you were interacting with it, it gave you an output and you felt happy or sad about it? Again, I'm giving you a very simplistic question. They say, you know what? Yeah, last week, for example, I'm again playing back a real interview. This person said he was interning. He was like a short-term student here. He said, I'm renting a home in Singapore. There were a lot of these bed bugs around. He called his parents, and parents couldn't resolve it. They told him a few solutions, none of them worked. And then ChatGPT told him something, and it worked. And he went back to ChatGPT and actually told ChatGPT, "Hey, it worked. Almost like a real person." And ChatGPT said, "Great work. We together removed bed bugs from your home." Something on those lines it said, and he felt so happy about it. And that happiness has built what we refer to as attachment, right? So his attachment to ChatGPT is a different level. And while you're talking about it, another interesting interview before I give it back to you was there's this person. Again, as I said, cultural aspects impact a lot. We notice that some of the folks who are maybe in Western countries, let's say Europe or Canada, I haven't interviewed those many from US, might have cultural parameters impacting it. For example, feelings like guilt or other things associated with it. So I'm talking about it because another scenario from an interview. This person, when he started dating, he met a girl. He approached her, talked to her a few times. It was going okay. He wanted to impress her, just like we used to do maybe in our times. So he went to ChatGPT and said, "Hey, gave ChatGPT a picture of what this girl looked like." And it said, ChatGPT told him that it looks like she likes creative people. And he said, "What can creative people give back?" He said, "Write her a poem or a song." So he said, "Okay, get me a poem or a song." And it wrote him a poem, which was like a song. And he sent it to her. And the girl was super impressed. And now he has this guilt feeling that it's not him dating her, but it's the ChatGPT dating her, which is interesting, right?
It's Ben dating with her.
Exactly. Yeah. In that case, Ben dating her. So he has a guilt conscious with it. Whereas if we compare to most of the people in Singapore, again, I've not interviewed so many in India. Here, there is a bit of pride. Hey, I'm using ChatGPT, so I have better outputs than others. So it's a bit of different nature how they refer to it, even as a tool and not even as a persona. Then.
Interesting. I'm sure it would be slightly different in India when it comes to real acceptance that people would be used. I believe in India, I'm sure there would be more closet users of ChatGPT than say probably in other parts of the world where people would be more outgoing and more forthcoming in terms of telling whether they are actually using it or not.
Yeah. And I think that would be an interesting exploratory exercise. Again, I have a feeling that people in different parts of India would be interacting it differently. Because you see, in India also, like someone from, let's say, a state of Kerala, for example, is sometimes so different from the next state, Tamil Nadu itself, right? So I'm sure the same ways AI tool is shifting different people different ways. And that would be interesting to explore, man.
Got it. Great, Ankush. We have come to the last segment of this podcast. So whenever I talk to any of my guests, I usually ask them their recommendations. It could be a movie recommendation, it could be a book recommendation, or it could be even a podcast recommendation or recommendation of any sort. What you would like to give. तो कुछ recommendations हमारे viewers के लिए तुम भी दो.
Perfect, man. So I think I read a lot. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I would say when you were asking this question and I thought about it, I think two books come to my mind. And they are, I think, a must read for anyone, be you a designer, non-designer, wanting to explore the field or not. One is called Design of Everyday Things by Don Norman. It's a beautiful book because it talks about his perspective on how common day objects around you are designed so beautifully. And we sometimes say best design is invisible. It's only when it breaks down that you say, hey, my God, it's not working. But we see so many things around us. And the moment you read this book, you actually start viewing the world around you differently. And that leads me to the second book, which is, as a recommendation, is Ways of Seeing by John Berger. Again, a very old book. It was also a BBC series. I'm not sure if it's available to see on television as well or some of these streaming channels. It gives the perspective on how do you see the world around you differently. Again, remember, we started off with this thing about empathy, where you're talking about leaders and organizations. It gives you a different perspective on how do you take a pause in this world where everyone is so distracted. Everyone wants entertainment, even on a 10-second wait. 5-second videos are a norm now. It makes you realize that if you see around yourselves, it makes you so much more happier about how the world has kind of evolved and how many things are actually working greatly around us, and not just complain about things aren't working. So it gives you a very different perspective, and I'm sure you and others who are listening to it will love it.
Sure. कोई और recommendation? Any other recommendation? Any podcast or which comes to your mind right away? या नहीं अभी नहीं?
Not at the moment, man. Yeah, there are lots. So again, yeah, these are the two which I would talk about.
If anything comes to your mind, मुझे बता देना. I'll put it in the description of this video.
Perfect. बिल्कुल.
ठीक है Ankush, so thank you so much. I think it was great talking to you after several years.
Same
so
here.
finally we were able to meet online thanks to this medium of Zoom and other things. तो ठीक है, फिर हम बात करते रहते हैं, and I hope you had a good time.
It was lovely talking to you, man, after so many years, as you said. And time flew by, right? And they always say time is respective and subjective. And it feels like yesterday we were maybe sitting in a class next to each other, and today we are sitting virtually next to each other. More than happy to talk to you, man.
चलो then, see you. Have a good time. Have a good day. Bye bye. Right. तो आज की बातचीत यहीं तक. आपको ये बातचीत कैसी लगी प्लीज मेरे को जरूर बताइए. कमेंट्स में बता सकते हैं, आप मेरे को ईमेल भी कर सकते हैं. अगर आप किसी ऐसे इंटरेस्टिंग आदमी को जानते हैं जिसके बारे में आपको लगता है कि मुझे उससे बातचीत करनी चाहिए और उसके एक्सपीरियंसेस हमें इस प्लेटफॉर्म पे शेयर करने चाहिए, तो आप प्लीज वो इन्फॉर्मेशन भी मेरे साथ शेयर करिए. ठीक है, तो आज का यहीं तक. फिर मिलते हैं हम दोबारा बहुत ही जल्दी. थैंक यू सो मच.